sintió. Oh my god! Hey there, fellow wanderers. I hope you're all doing well. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been here before, I'm sending you a big virtual hug to welcome you back. I'm Becky, the slow traveling wanderer. So just like that, amigos, I was on a flight to Mexico City. As I mentioned in my beer history video, I'm in town looking to lock in an apartment. I thought I'd put together a video on a day in the life of, just to give you a taste of what it's like to live day to day in Mexico City. I know some people are thinking of moving to Mexico City, but perhaps you've only visited here once or twice, or maybe not at all. I thought this video would be helpful to show you how I typically spend my time when I'm in the city. The next video I post will be all about my apartment hunt, and I have a video of the apartments that I looked at, and I'll be sharing that with you, as well as sharing the process I've been going through to find a place. Hopefully, I found one by the time the next video posts. All right, let's get into it. I flew in last Saturday. Here's how it went. Saturday was a half day. So it didn't start off quite well. As I was exiting the airport, customs, those bastards, charged me $120 US or 2,300 pesos for bringing in an extra laptop for work. So I was traveling, this was the first time that I traveled with two laptops, my own personal laptop and my laptop for work. I'd never heard of anyone having to pay to bring in an extra laptop, but once I mentioned it to one of my friends, she says she read about it in the EXPAT forum on Facebook, that this has happened to other expats. I was so annoyed. Anyway, be aware that if you bring two laptops with you, you may have to pay customs fee on one of them. Make sure it's a cheaper one too. And if you bring it in, make sure you claim it on the customs form, because I didn't, and they were trying to penalize me, saying that I should have claimed it. And I said, well, American Airlines told us the Mexican government no longer required those custom forms and didn't even give us the forms. So we went back and forth, and I was upset. And finally, I just said, listen, charge me what you need to charge me. Let's just get this over with. I literally had not eaten at all the entire day and had gotten up at 5 a.m. to start my travels. So I was definitely hangry and I was just frustrated. So I ended up having to pay that fine, moving on. By the time I got to my friend's house, it was 3:30 p.m. and I had not eaten anything. So I invited my friend for a late lunch, early dinner, and also wanted to thank her for being my host. It was a nice meal, but it was a little pricey. It was 1,250 Mexican pesos or 63 US dollars. I've eaten at this place 4 times, and it always seems to be pretty expensive for what you get. But it is the closest place to her house, so it was just an easy, thing to do. I think next time we definitely will, take a short Uber ride and go elsewhere. It was okay, but to be honest, it wasn't $63 worth of food. You know what I mean? All right, moving on. Sunday was my first full day in the city, and that day we decided to go out and just make a day of it. My friend and I went to have a nice lunch, and we knew this was going to be expensive, but I'd always wanted to try the steakhouse called Sonora Grill. Well, I underestimated how expensive, again, for Mexico City, it was. We had 2 steaks, one side each, 1 glass of wine, 1 agua fresca, and 2 sparkling waters, small waters. The total ended up being, with tip, 2,500 Mexican pesos or 125 US dollars. Now, this isn't really super expensive in the US if you go to a steakhouse, right? But it was probably right along those prices. So, it's pricey. But listen, YOLO, right? And I always wanted to try this place, so, there you go. I won't be going back anytime soon, but I tried it out.
Gracias. Muchas gracias. Está muy, muy lindo. No, ¿eh? No te estoy sacando a ti, estoy sacando solo a ti.
All right, moving on. We then went to go visit one of the museums that I covered in my video of the weirdest Mexican museums. This one was El Museo del Objeto, Museum of the Object. Our walk to the museum from the steakhouse was beautiful and unexpected. This is what I love about Mexico City. It was sunny, 82 degrees, and we saw the most amazing architecture. I can't believe I'd never walked down the street. The street is called Colima in the Roma Norte neighborhood. It's probably one of the most gorgeous streets in Mexico City. And guess what? Walking down lovely streets and seeing stunning architecture is also free. Check it out. So literally the architecture was so stunning that my friend who has lived here for probably a couple of years, said she had to bring her mom to get to know Mexico City. Many people who actually live here, work so hard that they don't really have time to get out and experience and see the city. And this was her first time as well, walking down the street and just experiencing, this typical Sunday that we were experiencing. So it's just cool. All right, we got to the museum and guess what? It was free. Now we're talking. We then finished our museum visit. It was nice. It was cool. It was interesting. And on our way back, we stumbled upon a bazaar that looked like a huge outdoor party. It was really cool. I mean, it really felt like life was back to normal somewhat, except everyone was wearing masks, of course, which is cool, but just check out this vibe. It was the most energetic and social thing I've seen in Mexico for a while, and anywhere for that matter. Anyway, there were lots of vendors selling hip clothes, plants, foods, jewelry, and I bought this wonderful, highly foo-foo cookie sampler. It was 300 pesos, which is 15 USD. That's pricey. That's pricey even for the US. I then bought this all-natural, handmade vegan granola because I love granola with yogurt in the morning. And it was 200 pesos or $10 USD. Now, that was also expensive because if you buy the best all-natural California granola, for example, and I know because I'm Californian, it'll run you about $7 to $8 tops. So $10 for a bag of granola was expensive. But again, it was just, trying it out. I was feeling generous and I wanted to contribute to local businesses. These were all young Mexican entrepreneurs for the most part, selling their handmade stuff and that sort of thing. So fine. We ended the late afternoon and went back home, and it was a nice full day, experiencing everything that CDMX has to offer. On to Monday. So Monday was my first work day, if you will, in the city. I was lucky that I only had a couple of afternoon meetings. So I had a nice lazy start and was able to swing by the grocery store in the morning since I needed some items. My friend is also working from home, so we got to chat in the morning. We had breakfast together. It was just a nice way to wake up and start your day. I then headed out to Su Mesa, the grocery store. And the total for that supermarket run was 832 Mexican pesos. That's 42 US dollars. I purchased 18 items for an average per item of $2.33. I only bought one specialty item, which was almond milk, but the rest of the stuff was standard. That's not bad considering an average supermarket haul in Austin, Texas at H-E-B, which is a fairly affordable supermarket chain, runs me about $3.75 per item. And when I shop at Whole Foods, I pay something like $5.50 per item on average. Now, there were some items that jumped out at me, so I just wanted to point this out there because, it's one of those things when you're like, what am I paying for this? I bought this instant coffee called Punta del Cielo. It's one of my favorite brands when I'm in Mexico. And it's 110 pesos for a small jar, so that's $5.50 US, and that's a lot. The other item was jamón serrano, and I love this because it's the closest I can be to Spain and Spanish ham without being there in person. Anyway, it was a pack of 6 slices at best, and it's 100 grams, which is roughly 3.5 ounces, which is not a lot. And that was 123 Mexican pesos, or $6.15. So that's pricey when you consider, a small packet of very thinly sliced serrano ham. And then lastly, there was plain old Bigelow tea. Standard stuff you can find at CVS in the US, and it's not really a great brand to be honest. But one pack of green tea was 75 Mexican pesos, or $3.75 USD. In the US, you typically buy this for like $1.99 or $2 or something. Now, there were also items that stood out for how cheap and affordable they were. A freshly baked baguette bread, and it was a pretty big baguette, was 14 Mexican pesos, or 70 cents. Stevia sweetener with 60 packets was 33 Mexican pesos, or $1.65. And then a large tub of all-natural unsweetened yogurt was 37 Mexican pesos, or $1.85. I give you these examples so you get an idea of certain items that are expensive in CDMX and others that are inexpensive. Overall, my supermarket haul was still about 35% cheaper than Austin, Texas. So depending on where you come from, that might be more or less, but it's still an overall savings. Well, I was running late to get back and wasn't going to have the time to make my own lunch, so I bought these 2 quesadillas from the corner stand. They were 40 pesos for both, but that's a whopping $2 US for a filling lunch. And it was delicious and super affordable. Score. This one is rajas and cheese. This one is champiñones and cheese. Both vegetarian. Now what I do is I like to take them and nuke them. Why? Because I'm very sensitive for my stomach and I don't want to get sick. But if you nuke them, the heat kills any potential bacteria. So, little tip for you. I then got home, worked the rest of the day. It was really hot and difficult to work at times. My friend's house happens to be one that gets hotter than normal, and I guess you can't have it all, right? My friend then got home, we had dinner together, and that was my first weekday in CDMX. All right, amigos, I'm going to leave this video here. This gives you a window into my first 3 days in CDMX, and the next video will cover my apartment tours and the apartment search process. I hope you found this information helpful and interesting, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. All right, hasta la próxima. See you next time. Bye.
Se compra bolsones, tambores, refrigeración.